episode of Torrevieja Talk. We are live on Twitch this evening, which could turn into a regular theme for myself, Paul, from footballmanagercentral.com.
Chris, commercial and PR guy from City Torrevieja.
And I'm Paul from the fellow Pena to the FMC, Mersey Socios of Torrevieja.
Fantastic. Let's get into this week's episode. We have some big news to start, Chris.
Yes, so the squad's been officially announced for the 2015-2016 season. So I'm just going to talk you through the players that we've named in our squad. So starting off with the goalkeepers, we've got Oscar, who was the club's player of the year last season, and we've retained him for this season. And he'll be joined by the guy we were talking about last week, Miguel Serna. The guys that have been named as defenders in the group are Vicente, who's our regular right back. Eddie, who played a few games as centre-half last season, but also is more regularly a left-back. David Rives, who's a guy that's he was Pedreño's first pre-season signing. Matej, who's a Croatian defender that we've just confirmed in the last 24 hours. He's played quite a few pre-season games and has looked very, very good. 19 years old, a good prospect for the future, but probably will get quite a few games, I would imagine. Quintero, the centre-half that we signed from Humila in the last week or so. He's played in both the pre-season games in the last week and looked like a very strong signing, so very pleased we've got him. And Ricardo Cabas, who's our 41-year-old experienced centre-half who as the pre-season's gone on, has just improved and looks like he's going to really add a lot of not just experience but quality to the back line. In midfield, we've got local lad Bergios. He's been retained for this season. He's been with the club since he was a teenager, and I think he's in his mid-20s now, so he's been around a long time. An exciting new signing, Juanma from Hercules. He actually scored on his pre-season debut on Saturday night in the Costa Calida Trophy against Mar Menor. Jorge, who is the club captain, he'll be playing probably in one of the more defensive midfield roles this season. Cesar, who was on loan with us last season from Elche, he's been signed for another season and will be joined also by Brani, who is in the same situation. Martin, he's played at centre-back in a couple of the pre-season games this year, but he's been listed as a central midfielder, so it's quite possible that he might end up linking with Jorge in in a defensive midfield role. Sanchez, who is back from his honeymoon and has played in the last few pre-season games and seems to be playing in the slightly more advanced midfield role where Pedreño sees him playing. Looks like quite a clever player, and as he gets fitter and fitter, I'm sure he's going to be a key player for us. Adrian Banderas, he was our most improved player last year and actually played a lot of last season as an attacking left back, but Pedreño has listed him as a midfielder in this season's squad. I would have thought, looking at the fact that we've only got 6 defenders listed, if Eddie isn't the first choice left back, then I would imagine it'll be Adrian. And then Luis Carlos, who started the pre-season, as everyone knows, in an absolutely rich vein of goal-scoring form, has gone slightly off the boil in the last couple of weeks, but to be honest, it only really matters when the league games start, and I still believe he's going to be a massively influential player for us this season. His preferred position seems to be on the left-hand side, so it'll be interesting to see how Pedreño balances that out with Juanma, but Luis Carlos can come in off the right-hand side as well, so we'll probably see quite a lot of that. The 3 attackers that have been named first of all is Juan Fran, who's had an injury for the last couple of pre-season games, so he's been rested as a precaution, so he's fit for Sunday's game. Carrasco, who's actually been playing in a deep midfield role for the pre-season, but has been named as one of the 3 strikers, so that's interesting. And then Lewis, and Lewis, as quite a few of you'll probably know, is the English guy who was on Elche's books for quite a long time. He's looked really good in pre-season, in my opinion, and when he came on against Mar Menor on Saturday night, actually changed the game for us along with Brani, and was heavily involved in setting up the goal for Juanma. So that's the squad for the season, and to be perfectly honest, it really does look like a very strong squad. And I would imagine Pedreño must be very happy with the way it's all come together, and is looking forward to taking him into the first league game on Sunday.
Fantastic. I think before we go on to talking about the games which have been played since our last episode last week, with the squad being announced, I want to just quickly go over to the stat man and just ask Paul if he's got anything to add on the squad being announced.
Yeah, so I mean, it's quite an interesting squad because obviously 20 players and 9 of which are new. So you've got to think that, is that going to unbalance the squad? But when you look at it, there's a couple of guys there who were actually playing with us last season on loan, who are now, full-time official Torrevieja players. So it's not as big an upheaval as you'd think. I mean, every single guy there that was mentioned has got a lot of game time over pre-season. Excuse me. The only one that didn't really was, as you mentioned, our latest signing, Juanma, who, he's only had one pre-season game. He only got 34 minutes on the pitch, but he scored a goal. So he's obviously got, a goal every 34 minutes is a high standard. He's going to have to look to keep up from midfield.
There we go. I knew there'd be one stat in there.
Yeah.
Well, I'm actually going to try and trump Paul's stat there because I'm pretty sure, and I'm probably going to get this completely wrong. But Juanma played 9 Segunda B games for Hercules last season, and I think he might have actually scored 3 goals. Now, it was either 3 yellow cards he got and 1 goal, or it was 3 goals and 1 yellow card.
The stat man has competition. Sorry, go on, Paul.
No, I was going to say it's okay. I'll let you have your moment with that one, and I've got a few up my sleeve. I'll bring in select quietly.
It's going to destroy you with stats later for that, Chris.
I mean, just one of the things, just quickly. Sorry, Paul. On when we talk about the squad and pre-season, so Pedreño used a total of 31 players over the 7 games that we played. And all right, we've talked it numerous times. Out of those 7 games, we only won 1, drew 3, lost 3. But against the quality that we were playing and the way that the guys played and all of the new signings have put in a lot of game time. I mean, obviously the likes of Oscar's got the most at 405 minutes over the 7 games. You would expect that because he played every minute of every game last season. Miguel Serna, the other keeper, has got a fair bit in as well. But then you look at Ricardo Cavas, the new signing, he's had over 300 minutes over 7 games and he's still had 5 starts. So Pedreño's been really, really smart about who he's played, when he's played, and he's got a lot out of everyone that's in the squad to truly know who he wanted in that final 20.
I think it's been a fantastic pre-season, and if we do just look back on pre-season for a minute, Chris, I think as I said, a lot of the teams have only played between say 3 and 5 games, where we've played 7, and we played very strong opposition, which we touched on last week. And I do think it has helped. It's not about the results, it's about the team gelling together with them new players coming into the squad. And no doubt from your point of view, where you've actually sat and watched every single match live, you'll probably be impressed and happy with how the team is looking.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way that the pre-season's gone, Pedreño has got a lot of minutes out of each player. Looking at it from sort of just one step removed, I'm looking at the squad and thinking, well, okay, what is the actual first choice 11 in there? And to be honest, my guess is as good as anyone else's when it comes to Sunday's game, because he's tried so many different combinations and tried so many different things that I'm sure it's all leading towards what's going to be sort of put out on the pitch on Sunday. But I honestly couldn't pick what I think Pedreño's first choice 11 would be. I mean, I have my own one in mind, but it could well be completely different. Especially with Juanma being thrown into the mix right at the last minute. I mean, with the quality of left-sided player we already had, it was quite a surprise. But as Paul said, I mean, within 34 minutes of pre-season debut, he's got a goal and he's played very well. So that's sort of throwing the cat amongst the pigeons a little bit in that respect. The quality of the opposition that we've played has been strong, but again, you just never know until the league games start. And considering that Ontinyent have gone through a lot of changes themselves over the summer, but they are expected to be one of the stronger sides in the group, Sunday's an absolutely massive game, and we really do want to come away from there with a win to get us underway.
Yeah, definitely. But we're going to go on to the week which has just finished. The fixtures, which have been played in the last week. I'm going to attempt this. People know my Spanish is terrible. It was the Costa Calida Trophy against Mar Menor. How was that?
That's a pretty good effort.
And that was good, that.
I know. One more game was played this week. Again, this is going to be impressive. We also played this week CD Thader. How was that?
I think you're probably right. Actually, I would have pronounced it Thader, but I think I'm probably wrong on that one.
I think that's the English way of saying it, isn't it?
Unfortunately, we have
Thader.
no footage from this game. What I will say, people, if people are tuning in for the first time, from next week, every single league game you will be able to see highlights on this show. But for this evening, I have a beautiful surprise for Paul and some other people, including James. You will be able to see on the screen now the club shop website and some people donning the new strip. So if you just keep an eye on that as we discuss the games which are being played this week. Over to you, Paul.
Okay, well, as I said, the first one that we actually played, chronologically, should we say, was against CD Theta. I mean, these guys last year just avoided relegation from Preferente, the division below us, so they're not of the same ilk that, the likes of Elche and Cordoba that we've played. They'd won 2, drawn 1 in their pre-season, but they'd had a massive amount of injuries, so it was one that could have gone either way, should we say. But, I mean, the 2-1 win that we got away from home on what would I'm going to pass this over to you, Chris, to try and put it diplomatically. The pitch.
If I turned up on a wet, windy Sunday morning and played on that pitch, I would have been moaning my backside off as an amateur paying £5 to play footballer. It was awful. There was no better way of describing it. I personally was genuinely concerned that somebody could have got an injury on it. It was bumpy. It was long grass. There was bald patches. It was just it was a terrible pitch.
Well,
go on.
I was going to say, what's going on, Chris? We're so close to the start of the season. Why are we coming up against opposition who are basically giving us facilities to play on that are this bad?
I don't know. I can't comment on how sort of CD Thader sort of set it all up. It did actually make it quite clear why a lot of clubs actually play on artificial 3G pitches. The climate out here isn't exactly given to creating sort of green, lush, bowling green type pitches, really. So it must be an incredible challenge for the ground staff to actually sort of maintain the pitches. But in its simplest form, it wasn't very good at all. Unfortunately, we came out of the game with no real injuries. So and a win as well, which was almost as important, despite it being quite a scrappy game and quite a scrappy performance.
Do you think, just while you were talking about the pitch and the conditions, and as you said, the concern for the injuries, do you think that might have been playing in the back of Pedro's mind? The fact that, on half time, he made 7 substitutions. I mean, he swapped the keeper, the whole of the defence, and most of the midfield. And then he swapped all the attackers, or the attacking midfielders. He swapped the other 4 on the 58 minutes. So do you think he had that in the back of his mind, that he didn't want anyone to pick anything up?
Yeah, quite possibly, and I think that's probably sort of standard fare coming into the last couple of sort of pre-season games, because the last thing you want is that start to see a player that you think, yeah, that's definitely going to be one of the crucial players, and then he picks up an injury in one of the final pre-season games. Also, on the Thader game, there were a couple of sort of new faces that I didn't recognise that were in on trial for that one particular game. So I think Pedro wanted to give them sort of ample minutes just to have a quick look at them as well.
Yeah, we've got to make a special mention on this one, to pardon the pronunciation, but Bergios. I mean, the guy got subbed, came on 50 minutes, and then went straight back off, sent off on 81 minutes.
Yes, yeah, but it was slightly out of character for Bergie, I think it's fair to say. I've not seen him sort of even say boo to a goose on the pitch, let alone put in the sort of tackle that went in on Wednesday night. In his defence, he had just received an absolute shocker of a tackle himself, which the referee decided to completely ignore. So I think he, at the first available opportunity, decided to leave one on the guy who did it to him. And unfortunately for Bergie, the referee, we actually hadn't realised Bergie had been sent off. It was done that subtly. I think the referee just said it's probably best if you just go and sort of sit the last 5 minutes out or so. so that's what happened. But it didn't have any impact on the result at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, that was good to see. I mean, it was a good for Branny and Cesar to get on the score sheet as well, to pull that 2-1 win for us.
Yeah, we went behind to an absolutely bullet of a strike from a guy who used to play for us, Danny Lucas, I think his name is.
Yeah.
But we were always the better side, but we struggled to really create anything clear cut, and then suddenly we had 2 or 3 clear cut chances in a row, which Brani and Thezar then sort of put the ball home.
It probably shows as well the fact that it was a completely 11 different players on the second half, and as you said, the fact that he used a couple of new guys as well. I remember you saying Saul up front had looked half decent, but still didn't make the final squad. Shows the quality of even the guys that we haven't taken on.
Yeah, definitely. That would probably be my only criticism of the pre-season so far, is that, and I'm sure there's a lot going on in the training ground that will put all this to rest when the league season starts. But it's been difficult to really sort of see any patterns of play developing, any sort of clear indication of this is how we're going to shift the ball from defence into midfield, from midfield into attack, and then into the final sort of third and stuff. But I'm sure that's all going to become a lot more apparent once players are playing regularly, and we're starting to see the regular 11 sort of getting the majority of them getting 90 minutes each week.
Yeah, cool. I mean, that's, as I said, everyone's getting game time, which obviously leads us nicely onto the second game of the week, the Marmanor, which was the Costa Calida Trofeo, which we won in dramatic cup fashion, shall we say, with the penalty shootout.
Yeah, it was another interesting game. I think we dominated it for the best part, and the goal that they scored came completely against the run of play. And we kept going, to be perfectly honest. And then, as I said, Lewis Allen came on and changed the game. He'd actually been ill for the last couple of days. And was playing, not even expecting to be sort of to get on the pitch. He'd been feeling that rough. But he came on for half an hour or so and completely changed the game. His movement was great. His link-up play was fantastic, and he played a massive part in the equalising goal for Juanma, which must have been hitting injury time when we got the equaliser.
88 minutes.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah,
and then it went to penalties, in true Football Manager style. I don't know how many penalty shootouts you guys have had on Football Manager, but not many penalties. Not many penalties get missed on Football Manager 2015. The first 8 were traded successfully. Then I think Oscar saved the 9th, which left it to Brani to very casually slot home the winning penalty.
I've got to stop you there, Chris, because it's been said a couple of times that it was 5-4 on penalties. It was actually 6-5. We'd gone into...
You're right, actually. No, you're right. It was 6-5.
Yeah,
yes.
It had gone into sudden death.
Yeah, I remember now, because there was the classic pre-season moment where Quintero stepped up looking like he was going to take the winning penalty, sort of really, really confident, only to be told by the referee, "You've been subbed already, mate. You're not allowed to take one." So then Brani had to come up and then slotted away the winning penalty.
That's brilliant. I mean, it's the fact that we put away all 6 penalties against the side that last year they're the same level as us. And they finished one place off the playoffs. They got 12 clean sheets last year, so they were always going to be a tough opposition to play. Pre-season before they met us, they had 2 games and 2 wins, so it was never, on paper going to be any kind of rollover. So the fact that it was 1-1 probably isn't a surprise. But when you get to penalties, I think it's going to give us confidence for the future that we have got so many, guys willing to take who will put it away.
I'm sure the lads enjoyed the novelty of having a penalty shootout at the end of a pre-season friendly. Whether anyone's going to list the Costa Calida Trofeo on their sort of footballing CV or not, I'm not entirely sure. I mean, if there is a trophy to be played for, it's always nice to win it, of course. But I think everyone would be much happier sort of walking away with a playoff place at the end of the season. Definitely. All right, if we end up in a penalty shootout situation, I think you're comparing sort of apples and oranges there. Really, it's going to be completely different when it comes down to the cut and thrust of a penalty shootout in a playoff situation. But yeah, our 6 penalties were all very nice, and Oscar made a good save in from one of their penalties.
Let's all just hope that if needs be, and we do end up in a penalty shootout, they turn around and say, "Do you know what? The confidence of winning the Costa Calida Trophy, that helped us win this today, Chris." And you'll go, "Oh yeah, Paul's right."
Yeah.
I tell you what, if the Costa Leader Trophy gets a name check once we win promotion to Segunda B, I will happily stand corrected.
Does it count if we make that name check?
No.
No.
But we'll move that on nicely. No doubt the stat man is ready because we're going to talk about the upcoming match. Are you ready, guys? Against Ontinient?
Very good.
Was that
Yeah,
right?
we'll give you that.
Oh, yeah. I'm on
Yeah,
fire this evening.
I tell you what, it's a good job we're recording this.
It's a good job it's live. Come on, Mr. Statman, what have you got for this game coming up?
Okay, so I'm not going to trump you with the pronunciation. I've been practicing myself, so I'll leave it with you. So obviously it's our first game of the season. We're playing Sunday at 11:45 Spanish time, 10:45 for those on UK time. These guys made the playoffs last year. They actually were beaten 5-1 by San Fernando over 2 legs. One of the things that really pushed them for the playoff places and drove them up, they had the division's top scorer, Christian, maybe, and he got 25 goals, and that's more than, considering that we scored 44 last year. It shows how much of a big effect. However, this guy now plays for Torrevieja in Segunda B. So, that's got to be a bit of a bonus for us that they've lost one of their most influential players.
Definitely.
Obviously, last season they won their first 6 home games. That was unbelievable form. And in this, the rating fixture, it was 2-2 when we played them at their place in March. So, a couple of late goals on there that got them the draw. We were looking at taking the win. So far on pre-season, they've had 7 games, same as us, 3 wins, 3 draws, 1 loss. As Chris mentioned at the start, they've had a bit of upheaval themselves across the pre-season period, should we say. So they've got a new manager on the 16th of June, a guy called Miguel Angel Muller, pardon the expression. It's half Spanish, half German by my pronunciation, but that's right.
Yeah.
But he's come from Benignan. Again, pardon the pronunciation. He's only on a 1-year deal, so I think they're going to see how that goes. But the interesting thing that since he's taken on, amongst the players that have been added to the squad, there's a total of 8 guys that have come from Benignan. So
Benignan, I think.
Benignan.
Just for anyone who wants to know what the team is, I probably pronounced that completely wrong myself. So between the two of us, I'm sure we'll get it right.
The guys that, if you look at the table, they finished in 9th last season. So how you pronounce it, that's how it is. So, they were 9th, they were 1 place above us, but going into the last game of the season, they still had a chance of making the playoffs, so they did well. And if you think about it, if we're more or less playing against their side from last year, away from home, we got beat 3-1, and the 2 goals for them were from a guy called Rafita. And strange enough, this is one of the 8 guys that's transferred over to Ontinient. So for me, this is the one to watch. He's got 2 in pre-season already, 2 in 7, and he's got 2 against us last year. So for me, that's the guy to watch this time.
Fantastic. This is obviously getting exciting now. This is episode 3 of Torrevieja Talk, and on Sunday the league campaign kicks off. Chris, no doubt you've been there, been in the front row, be excited for Sunday.
Yeah, Ontinient was actually my first away game from joining the club last season, and it is a tough place to go. As Paul said, we got a 2-2 draw there last year, and we're 2-1 up, I think, with about 10 minutes to go. Then we were down to 10 men, and they got a late equaliser. It's going to be a tough game, but I would actually personally rather have a tough game first up, because that will give you a real sort of feel for where we're at in terms of being a team. I really do think we'll get some kind of result out of the game on Sunday.
Fantastic. Stay tuned for that, and obviously to keep up to date and to get regular updates on how the game is going, remember to check out the 2 Twitter handles, cdtorrevieja_en and cdtorrevieja. And also go to www.clubdeportivotorrevieja.com and put /en on the end if you want the English version. There is options in the top corner to select English or Spanish. And for the Penas, if you want to become a Pena of Torrevieja, you will have seen all the way through the show the FMC CD Torrevieja Pena Supporters Club and also the Mersey side Socios of Torrevieja, which are run by myself and Paul, the other person on this chat this evening. But that is it for episode 3 of Torrevieja Talk. So we'd all like to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
And we will see everybody next week, where we will be reviewing the opening day